I wanted to start with a little bit of myth busting, what ADHD is not. Many myths persist about ADHD, and this pushes people away from the topic and, importantly, from the learning and the growth that's possible. Common myths include that ADHD is wriggly little boy syndrome. It's confined to rambunctious little bodies who need to run and not sit still. In the public, there's also this idea that ADHD is simply a modern trend. It's not particularly real. Some have gone so far as to say it's an American invention, or it's ubiquitous in our modern distracted lives. Many people see ADHD and other mental health challenges as an excuse, and here particularly an excuse for laziness or underachievement or a perceived lack of drive or ambition. There is common in the discourse this idea that ADHD is perhaps someone's fault, the product of neglectful family origins, parenting, teachers, or the fault of a difficult child. And there is a myth that ADHD, once assessed, is unmanageable. Nothing can be done. And with these, there are many other myths. And I just encourage you to think about what you may have heard or believed about ADHD in the community. And I hope today you can be prepared to challenge some of those myths. So Darren, if we could forward, please. In contrast, what is ADHD? In fact, it is now a scientifically demonstrated and recognized lifetime neurological and biochemical difference. Modern science, including brain scanning, is now able beautifully to measure, and has done so through countless studies, the differential neuronal and hormonal activity in a person who lives with ADHD. Really good and accessible overviews of the neuroscience are available in this book, which you'll hear me talk about a few times, by Ed Hallowell and John Ratty, ADHD 2.0. They both are psychiatrists and experience ADHD themselves and have written a really nice summary of some of the modern science. ADHD is also highly genetic, and it has both genetic and psychosocial links. The genetic trait is in fact more inheritable than height, so it's often found within families, although the trait itself can be present and sometimes dormant, but can be activated depending on someone's life circumstances, and particularly if environmental or psychosocial conditions contribute. This is the nurture element, where more challenging earlier environments can contribute to the condition being present. And I want to stress here that ADHD is a combination of both nature and nurture. ADHD, contrary to myth, is also present in children and adults of all genders and across cultures. So it's not limited to wriggly little boys. More and more women and adults generally are identifying with various aspects of ADHD. And this often happens if you have children in your lives and children are being assessed. There are numerous instances of what is referred to as adult onset ADHD, something like a significant promotion that may involve changing job into more management duties, or for those of you who are parents, the advent of children and their many demands. These circumstances in life present the functioning challenges of ADHD in a way that otherwise up to that point have been well coped with. ADHD is also an adaptive neurological difference, and I put here hunters and artists. There's a writer called Tom Hartman who considers ADHD in an evolutionary context, and he's reconceptualized ADHD not as a disorder, but rather as a necessary human style characterized by flexibility and creativity. He's not in the resources, so I've asked Genevieve just to pop that into the chat for you today. He argues that people with ADHD, in fact, are leftover hunters from early societies who need the flexibility, impulsivity, ability to hyperfocus, ability for bursts of intense movement, all those things of an ADHD brain in order to hunt successfully. And in more modern times, think of our artists, our absent-minded professors, our entrepreneurs, who use this creative, out-of-the-box thinking in their quest for new creative things. ADHD does have the potential to impact human functioning and our psychology. Living with ADHD is indeed living differently and often comes up against the prevailing modes of operation in modern society, which prioritizes rules, schedules, efficiencies, balance, order. Here is where so-called normal functioning doesn't match with someone living with ADHD. And most people who live with ADHD see and acutely know their differences here. There is often a gap, a dissonance between intellectually what they know is the way to do things and their own desires, preferences, or frankly, even abilities to do things. Living with this difference, especially when it's gone unrecognized or has been misunderstood, creates a host of psychological impacts, which we'll look at a little bit later on.